You can use variables to store a variety of different kinds of objects. Objects can be simple or they can be complex. A simple variable might include a single string of text, or it could include a number. A more complex variable, as an example, might be a person. A person would include a first name, last name, an age, and possibly other parameters as well. In a PowerShell console, let's try creating a couple variables and see how they work. First, let's create a simple string variable that's going to store a message. Notice how I surround the message with double quotes. Next, let's create a number and we'll set it to 5. Third, let's create a location and we'll set this to the getLocation result. Now that we have our variables, let's take a look inside them. When we type the name of the variable, we can see what they contain is output to the screen. Notice that when I call the location variable, we are going to get what the getLocation commandlet would have outputted. What we did there is we stored the contents of that command inside the variable, in the same way that we stored our text and number in the other two variables. Now let's try something a little bit different. Let's open Visual Studio Code and we will create a PowerShell script to explore this further. First, let's start by creating a new variable for the first name. Let's call our person Vincent. Let's give them a last name, and we'll give their last name Smith. Let's give them an age as well, and we'll make them 25. Now let's use the writeHost command to create a message to output to the screen. Our message will be, your friend's name is, first name, last name, and their age is age. Notice that I used double quotes to surround our message. This will become important later on. Now let's type our message again, but let's use single quotes so that we can see the difference in what these will do. Notice the use of single quotes in the word friends. This is because the word friends already includes a single quote as part of the punctuation. The double use of this single quote allows us to include this inside the final message. Now let's use the debug command to run our script. Notice the output from the first message. It replaced the variables with the values of those variables. And notice the second message, how it did not replace the variables with the values. The reason for this is because quotation marks are used to specify a literal string. You can enclose a string in single quotation marks or double quotation marks, as we did in this example. When you enclose a string in double quotation marks and include variable names that start with a $sign, these are replaced with the variable's value before the string is passed through to the command for processing. Now let's try something to illustrate this. Once again, let's use the writeHost command, and we'll create a message and surround it with double quotes. But this time, instead of using a variable, let's use a math equation. Let's use 5 plus 2 and see what happens when we run our script. Notice that the math equation was evaluated as 7. Let's try that again, but let's copy our line and let's change the double quotes to single quotes and run the script again to see what happens. When you use single quotes, the math equation is not evaluated. If you would like to prevent the substitution of a variable with its value, you can use the character called the backtick. Watch while I put the backtick at the beginning of the first name variable, right before the $sign. When I run the command, you'll notice that the output now includes the variable name and not the value, but the other variables are replaced normally. Now let's remove the backtick character and run the script again, and you will see that once again the variables are replaced with their appropriate values.